Recognize this gentleman from Florida, Dr. Dunn, for his questions for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. To ensure the U.S. has a robust supply of critical minerals, private entities and the government have to navigate many market complexities. And that includes, the upstream extraction, midstream processing, and downstream manufacturing. If we can't compete with China on this, and they're doing all these price setting, export controls and whatnot, the U.S. is simply not going to have the industry or the economy needed to produce these critical minerals. So we have to create an immediate need for every level of that supply chain. For example, in order to have reliable minerals, we need to have qualifications and purity standards, which we don't seem to have set up right now. Florida State University is in my district. It's home to the National Magnetic Field Laboratory, the largest and most powerful magnet lab in the world. I'm proud of that. The lab creates about $700 million a year in U.S. economic output. And these high magnetic fields are leading to discoveries in complex materials. And the researchers are working to develop U.S.-based rare earth supplies in Florida. FSU and industry partners are currently working on new ways to remove, we think, over $30 billion worth of rare earths minerals that are in Florida's phosphogypsum stacks, what they call the gyp stacks. These are the old phosphate mines. This would create a U.S. supply of critical minerals needed to unleash American technology energy needs and reduce our dependence on China. What we discovered in Florida is that these gyp stacks have enormous reserves of rare earths in them, and if we can separate them, we think we have decades and decades of supply. It's alarming that the United States must rely on China to acquire the 50 most important minerals, rare earth minerals that we work with. Something that hasn't yet been mentioned is that 27 of those 50 critical minerals can be found in the state of Florida. And the only two that are currently being mined are zirconium and titanium. Mr. Chair, I would like to submit for the record a report from the FSU National Mag Lab. It's entitled Florida's Potential as a Production Center for Rare Earths, Critical Minerals, and Industrial Byproducts.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you so much. Ms. Hunter, you very clearly laid out America's market risks and the need for secure, qualified end products. You noted that to justify execution in high-risk, firms typically will require market pricing and strong demand signals over time. Given these factors, how would you suggest the U.S. government expand its commercial base for these critical materials and execute a deterrence strategy against China?
First, I want to recognize that different types of American ingenuity coming out of the national labs, universities, to find alternative pathways, substitutes, different processes, even from biology, is very critical for us to explore as we decrease dependence on adversaries for these sources. In terms of how the U.S. can help both creating more alternative sources of supply at home, but then contending with these market manipulations that you laid out, Dr. Dunn, Congressman, I think we have to take kind of a two-pronged approach. First, dealing with the competitive disadvantages U.S. processors face, the many different costs in CapEx and OpEx that are higher in the United States compared to different parts of the world that I outlined in my written testimony. Additionally, looking at partnership with allies so that we can make sure there's no circumvention of U.S. unilateral policies like tariff sourcing provisions through third-party markets so that our producers can compete on a level playing field. These will be critical to be ensuring American competitiveness.
Thank you for that. Ms. Hammond, China uses predatory tactics to block the U.S. ability to develop a commercially and globally competitive domestic mining and production. We're suffering the consequences of decades of that and underinvestment, frankly, on our own part. Does China's mineral dumping intentionally harm the development of U.S. industries? And if so, what action should we be taking? Is this a straightforward countervailing duties and anti-dumping case? Ms. Hammond. I'm sorry, Mr. Hume.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, that's one of the many challenges we face, right? How are we going to compete with China? And in my view, the strongest case we have is making it more attractive to develop here. we have to create an environment where mining companies feel that this is the best place for the investment. Alex said earlier, used the word crazy. You'd have to be crazy to develop here. And I've actually had a mine owner telling me that exactly when I asked him. I was like, you got to be crazy to be doing this here. And he said, well, in some other places it's worse. And the mineral's here, so we're gonna try here. This is after he'd been locked up in court for a while. But in my view, yeah, that's our number one, has to be a number one priority, is making this an attractive place to invest.
Thank you very much. My time has elapsed. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I yield back.